This is Olympia Poetry Network's open mic. We've added a slightly different twist at the last minute. Dick and Jody Meyer of Traditions Café would like to incorporate a benefit for flood victims in Pakistan. It won't change the open mic, but what we hope happens is that the audience and poets will provide those that drop in for the benefit with entertainment. Let's have Jody come up.
So the flooding started over a month ago. And if you were to see Pakistan, it would run through the entire central area of the country. It's water they've never seen before. Over 500 villages are swept away. Many of you know this already. I'm so grateful you're here for this benefit tonight. Naimat's family is there, and his family is one of the affected villages. So he's here to tell us how it is in Pakistan right now.
Thank you, Jody. My name is Naimat Gilal, and I'm from Pakistan, interior Sindh. I'm here in the U.S. Since '98, and my family has affected in this flood in Pakistan, and I'm not there with them at this moment, but it's heartbreaking to hear from my family and friends how they are suffering and not having anything. They lost their homes, crops, that's the only source that they have. So just anything help those people. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Sahid Sharif, everyone.
Let me say further about the situation in Pakistan. I don't want to dwell on it too long. The size of the area affected is equivalent to the size of Britain. The number of people who are displaced is close to 20 million. Unlike Haiti, where the immediate loss of life was huge, in this case, this was not the case here. But unfortunately, the displacement and the flooding is, unless something important happens, will linger, and the waterborne diseases will take their toll gradually. I think sometimes that's worse than dying immediately. But I think a lot is being done. I want to say something positive about what is being done, and that's quite a lot. The poem that I've selected to read to you comes from Faiz Ahmed Faiz. He's one of the major poets of Asia in the 20th century. He won the Lenin Prize. He was often in trouble with his government. He was often in jail, and it's because of his politics. And in this poem, as the translation will make clear, he starts with this tremendous interest in romantic love, which is often the case with poets. And then in the middle of the poem, he notices the problems of life, and then the poem takes a different direction. So we're going to break this up. So I'll say a few words, a few verses, and then Jody will translate, and then we'll go back and forth. मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब न मांग, मैंने समझा था कि तू है तो दरख्शां है हयात, तेरा गम है तो गमे देहर का झगड़ा क्या है, तेरी सूरत से है आलमे बहारों को शबात, तेरी आंखों के सिवा दुनिया में रखा क्या है, तू जो मिल जाए तो तकदीर नगू हो जाए, यूं न था मैंने फ़कत चाहा था यूं हो जाए.
Don't expect me, sweetheart, to share again the same love with you. Your presence, I thought, would turn my life into an endless ecstasy as long as I was focused on you. The struggles of life would melt away. Your beauty is the affirmation of the season of spring. There is nothing more precious than your eyes. Were you to be mine, fate itself would kneel before me.
और भी दुख है दुनिया में मोहब्बत के सिवा, राहतें और भी हैं वस्ल की रात के सिवा.
It was not so. It was only my wish that it were so. Other joys exist than those that love brings.
इनगिनत सदियों के तारीख बहीनाए मसलत रेशमो वसलतों मखबूत में दुल बनवाए हुए, जा बजा बिकते हुए कूचे में बाजार में जिस्म, खाक में लिपटे हुए खून में नहलाए हुए.
Other experiences exist also that besides the pleasure of love. The dark and cruel injustices of countless centuries come wrapped in silks, brocades, and laced with gold. Bodies that everywhere in streets are sold covered with dust, all their wounds bleeding. My gaze returns to those images. What can I do? Your body is still ravishing, but what can I do?
और भी दुख है ज़माने में मोहब्बत के सिवा, राहतें और भी हैं वस्ल की रात के सिवा. मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब न मांग.
Other joys exist than those that love brings. Other experiences exist also besides the pleasure of love. Don't expect me, sweetheart, to share your same love with you.
Good evening. For those of you who don't remember me, and as has been announced, my name is Kathy Morris. I'm comparatively new to the Olympia Poetry Network, and it looks like we're going to be going from a poet who was, shall we say, chastised by his government to an American poet who was sometimes chastised by his government, Allen Ginsberg. I decided that today, as I was walking through the rain in the Puyallup Fair, and wearing one of my most favorite San Francisco t-shirts, that today just felt like an Allen Ginsberg sort of day. So, the first poem, I'm going to read one entire poem and then just a small part of the poem that he is, of course, best known for. The first poem I'm going to read is one of my favorites by Ginsberg. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of it. The title is A Supermarket in California. What thoughts I have of you tonight, Walt Whitman, for I walk down the side streets under the trees with a headache, self-conscious, looking at the full moon. In my hungry fatigue and shopping for images, I went into the neon fruit supermarket, dreaming of your enumerations. What peaches and what penumbras, whole families shopping at night, aisles full of husbands, wives in the avocados, babies in the tomatoes, and you, Garcia Lorca, what were you doing down by the watermelons? I saw you, Walt Whitman, childless, lonely old grubber, poking among the meats in the refrigerator and eyeing the grocery boys. I heard you asking questions of each. Who killed the pork chops? What price bananas? Are you my angel? I wandered in and out of the brilliant stacks of cans, following you, and followed in my imagination by the store detective. We strode down the open corridors together in our solitary fancy, tasting artichokes, possessing every frozen delicacy and never passing the cashier. Where are we going, Walt Whitman? The doors close in an hour. Which way does your beard point tonight? I touch your book and dream of our odyssey in the supermarket and feel absurd. Will we walk all night through the solitary streets? The trees add shade to shade, lights out in the houses. We'll both be lonely. We will stroll dreaming of the lost America of love past blue automobiles in driveways, home to our silent cottage. Ah, dear father, graybeard, lonely old courage teacher, what America did you have when Charon quit poling his ferry and you got out on the smoking bank and stood watching the boat disappear on the black waters of Lethe? Do I have time for one short stanza?
Yes.
Okay.
Finish it up.
Okay. So this is just this. Okay. So as I said, this is the poem he's most famous for. The title, of course, is Howl. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo and the machinery of night, who poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and sat up smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats, floating across the tops of cities contemplating jazz, who bared their brains in heaven under the L and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs, illuminated, who passed through universities with radiant, cool eyes, hallucinating Arkansas and Blake-like tragedy among the scholars of war, who were expelled from the academies for crazy and publishing obscene odes on the windows of the skull.
So I took this opportunity to find out something about the Indus, the river that's flooding, and the geography and the floods, and this is what so far has come out of that. The Indus floods. One more chapter in the long book of fraying watersheds. Some say Father River, others say Lion River. This, the Indus, in Sanskrit, Sindhu, in Iranian, Hindu, root word of India and Indian. Once there were forests in the low valley, rhinoceroses. Once there were forests in North America, mastodons. Now there are people and water and 10,000 dead cattle, people in fantastically painted buses, helicopters in drowned fields, parents carrying infants, and thin sisters holding the long rope in swift shallows. Many arms reaching for a bottle of clean water. This, the Indus that rises in the snows and glaciers of the Kashmir Karakoram and in the Hindu Kush. Shrinking glaciers with the uneasy promise of pending drought. But the present worry starts with freakish monsoons in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Downpours gathering and washing through gorges into the Punjab, 5 rivers joining. Floods running 1,000 miles to Karachi in the south, and finally down to the marshes and to the Arabian Sea. And in their wake, bright shawls and dull water. 1,600 dead, collapsed bridges and fallen walls of brick and timber. An ancient woman carried to a boat laden to the gunwales, panic, roads turning into waterfalls, donkey carts in the rain, broken parts of his house toted on a man's head, long rows of white tents crowded into a field of crushed wheat. I'll say nothing here of dams, diversions, and ditches, of holy men and engineers. the foreigners and the unforeseen, or what the rare blind dolphin of the Indus thinks, tuned exquisitely to the fade of echoes he's now becoming, turning, turning, this year to the face of flood, next year to the face of famine.
We are all clinging to life on the edge of a rising tide. All of us born into these turbulent times, gripping survival with sweaty palms, defying mortality with no assurance of tomorrow. The complex web of creation binds us together in a common struggle to create, to protect, to endure. The invisible lines and imagined boundaries of country and allegiance are illusions of separateness. All mothers know that the only allegiance of the heart is that of love. We are all children of this earth under its clear or clouded destiny. Tonight, as the river rises and the unrelenting rains flood the lands, 3 million children are seeking comfort in their mother's arms, the only shelter left. 4 million homes are buried in watery graves, their occupants outcast, seeking higher ground, all sense of home washed away. Progress has its price. Ancient ground, miles thick with frost, is warming, thawing, releasing whole arms of earth and ice into the bodies of water just north of here. Innocent blood is still being spilled for oil. Not for lack of resource, but for lack of consideration. One cannot pursue happiness in the clutches of hunger, or think of freedom without a sense of place. We are all bound to a shared fate. The scale of your compassion for the suffering of a stranger can, in equal measure, heal the wounds of both. We can provide one another shelter in a deeper sense of community. Draw life from the breast of humanity. Bind together in a conscious intention to love one another. Together, we can rise higher than the threatening tide.
I thought I would read a passage from the book, The Essential Quran, The Heart of Islam, presented by the eminent translator Thomas Cleary. I've often heard it said that there's a lot of wonderful poetry in the Quran that's very difficult, if not impossible, to translate into English. Here's a passage that I think works very well in that regard. Light, in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. God is the light of the heavens and the earth. The simile of God's light is like a niche in which is a lamp, the lamp in a globe of glass, the globe of glass as if it were a shining star, lit from a blessed olive tree, neither of the east nor of the west. Its light nearly luminous, even if fire did not touch it, light upon light. God guides to this light whomever God will, and God gives people examples, and God knows all things. The light in the houses which God has allowed to be raised, that the name of God be remembered there, where God is glorified in the mornings and the evenings, by people who are not diverted by business or commerce from remembrance of God and persistence in prayer and giving of alms, as they fear a day on which hearts and eyes will be transformed, that God may reward them for the best of what they did, and grant them once more from the grace divine. And God provides without measure to whomever God will. As for the ungrateful who do not have faith, Their works are like a mirage on a plain, which the thirsty man thinks to be water, until he comes to it and finds nothing there. But he finds God in his presence, and God pays him his earnings, and God is swift in accounting. Or like the darknesses in an ocean deep and vast, covered over with waves, upon them waves, over them clouds. Darknesses one on top of another. If one stretched forth a hand, one would hardly see it. And whoever God gives no light has no light at all. Do you not see that God is glorified by all beings in the heavens and the earth, even the birds on the wing? Each one knows its own mode of prayer and of praise, and God is aware of all that they do. For to God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and the journey is to God.
I wouldn't really say that this is going to be poetry, but over the last month, I don't know, stuff just started to come out of me, letters to Pakistan, so I'm just going to read a few of them. Oh Pakistan, to watch your plains flood and your villages disappear, your future drowning before your eyes, death glistening under the sun, waiting for you in the months ahead. Come to my house, Pakistan. Tell them to bring you to my house. Somehow we will get along. Dear Pakistan, my heart rings and twists into knots for you. I want to come there, to be there, to lift you out of the waters rising over your heads, to take you to safety, to put up tents, to cook, to clean, to what? I would only be one more mouth to feed, one more arm needing a vaccine, one more body for antibiotics. No, hand-to-hand contact makes no sense coming from where I am. I am here without even the money to get out, let alone the money to get there. Money better spent, better sent. But I want to ship you my clothes, my sheets, my tent, my foodstuffs. And all the while, all I can think of is the bloody partition and the blood spilled since. Wasn't that enough? A flood after the bloody beginnings. Dear Pakistan, I am not a Muslim, but I love Urdu, Pashto, Qawwali, and the call to prayer. I am not a Muslim, and you are a Muslim state. Who knows how I'd fare in your hands, me and my American woman ways. But when one is drowning, there is only one or some other God to call on. When children have no food, no crops, are starving, dying, there is only the hand of someone or some other that can save, heal, feed that child, that adult, that village, that country. Dear Pakistan, for how long will your thighs push through that water as the bodies of your families, your neighbors, your animals float bloated by? And even when that water has finally seeped into the earth, for how long will your body feel weighted, bruised, delirious, hungry? Oh, I can send that $10 or $20, being of meager means myself, but what good can it do? Ha, you say, that's a week's worth of food, that's 3 tents for 3 families, that's fuel for many fires and more. With those dollars, I wish I could touch your hand, cook you a meal, carry a burden for you, wrap a dry blanket around your shoulders, give you a drink, sing you a song, keep you on your land. Dear Pakistan, I wish we could scoop the water out of your house and give it all to Syria. Did you know there's a drought there? No water, no rains for 4 years. Things are happening, making people uproot and die. Hard times, hard times. Maybe we could build special irrigation lines all across the lands, divert the too much water to where there is none. Can't we try that? Shouldn't someone work on that? Huge rain barrels dispensing to pipelines, dispersing to dry, cracked lands. That way, Syria could feed Pakistan, and Pakistan could feed Syria, and we could work this system out everywhere. How hard could it be? Shouldn't we try? We can get to the moon. We can create and drop nuclear bombs, but we can't figure out how to get the water out of Pakistan and into Syria. Dear Pakistan, who are you to me that I should be so torn in two, seeing you inundated, drowning, washed away into the vastness, the past, the silence? Who am I to you that I should care so much? That my throat should close up, my knees buckle, and my body sob tears? That I should want to put my hand out and pull you up, to say, here, come here, to my house. There's plenty of room. Dear Pakistan.
This poem is not about Pakistan, but it's about loss and human frailty. Flower of ashen bough, reach out your arms, little one. We would gather the sun, you and I, but you were too gentle for this earth to bear. Around the churchyard the wind howls, but no one brings flowers today. Just a few strands of barbed wire hung on the paling stabs. Along the hedgerows, soon there'll be blossom on the winds, and the bugle as blue as it's always been, in a blue silence across the Craig and Beck. I'll climb this hill again with the village behind me. These little fields that never turn to plough. After the storm, the long sun hides in the pines, and along the marches through the last of the haws, again comes the wind that bowed the thorn. The pond is frozen now, where the drakes turn green, and the skaters walked across the sky. Through their clouds in the caddis of the night, when the eels come down, they come out of their houses and let go of their sticks and stones, just to rise again. My Venus of the woods, reach out your arms, little one. I know we must go where the wild pigeons lie, their downy feathers adrift in the snow. Thank you.
My life's been enriched by reading lots of Pakistani poetry over the last few weeks, and it was hard to pick, but I'm going to read two poems. One is by Parveen Shakir, who was an Urdu poet and also a teacher and a civil servant. And one of the things I read about her is that it was an honor when she took one of the civil service exams that she had to take to get her job. There was a question on it about her own poetry. I imagine she got it right. She passed the exam. And I'm going to read a poem that she wrote called Vanity. I just liked her definition of vanity. He is so simple. His world is so different from mine. So separate are his dreams and his preferences. He says very little. He writes, "This morning I saw some lovely flowers in the lawn and thought of you." I know I am at that disheveled stage of life when my face is not much like any flower, but I wish, whatever he says, I could believe it a while. And this is a poem by Munir Niazi, who wrote in Urdu, Punjabi, and also English, and also wrote songs for Pakistani films. And I chose this poem because it's a very short poem, and I know how rare it is to have a fresh idea, but I felt that about this poem. It really made me read it many times to take in what he was saying. Let a few things remain unsaid. Let a few things remain unsaid. Let a few things remain unheard. What shall be left if all is said? What shall be left if all is heard? Leave the bough heavy, unbloomed, in a colorful, uncreated world. Leave the window unopened.
Hi, I'm Dick. I lost my wife to cancer a while back, and once in a while I write to her. Here's one I wrote to her. Hi, hon. Just sitting in the easy chair with some old memories. By the way, I wrote this New Year's Day, 1 year after she's gone. Just sitting in the easy chair with some old memories. Got my Sunday best on, clean shirt from the top drawer, clean shorts from the bottom. Some old pants I found in the closet and some shoes to let a little shine on them. No hurry, I got no place to go. Nothing to do when I get there. Maybe I'll put some music on. Something real slow, something we used to dance to. Now remember your head on my shoulder, your hair tickling my eyes, touch of your skin to mine. I'm in no hurry. Maybe I just sit in the easy chair a while with some old memories. Love you, Dick. I also write to God once in a while. This one I wrote to him. God, she's all yours now. She's a good girl and very smart. She's pretty self-reliant. She can turn a screwdriver and a wrench. She knows lefty-loosey and righty-tighty. She can get angry and she starts talking. You can't shut her up. She just needs a little attention, a little recognition, a little love. I like to cuddle up to her. I like to cuddle up to her and give her a little attention, a little recognition. I like to put my arms around her and give her a little love. God, when she gets real angry, I cuddle up real slow. Flowers don't hurt. She likes pink carnations if you buy them. She likes sweet peas cut on the side of the road. God, she's pretty easy to take care of. A little attention, a little recognition, a little love. Your friend Dick.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here this evening. I didn't realize it was a fundraiser for Pakistan, but I do have a couple of poems that are about floods. This one is called End Days. It is all coming to an end. The innocent snows turn gray and flow to mud as the ethereal cold swells with the heat of saturation, liquefying the day. In the water drip and myriad limbs released, sways my mind against a backdrop of white, dimensionless, infused with an unseen sun as dusk descends. A lone leaf, wilted, brown, clinging still, evidence of seasons lost where verdure, crowned in gold, held up his shining head, singing azure's song shot through with birds of every color perched high and low in waves of green and trillium. The machinations of removal now heard in the distance, man making nature's world a safe haven for his vehicle. To what end, I ask? For whom, for what dream, what reason? None of it makes sense now that the world is dying. Closing in around us, the howling hills and waiting depths impinge upon our sleep, where budding maids in cherry bloom are sacrificed to render one more day. Beyond weeping, and too late for remorse, I watch and wait, marking the days with pen and brush. A word, a stroke of color, a pinprick. Threading my way through the eye of distraction, listening with every stitch, every metallic click of my needles to our eternal undoing. I brave to venture, tracking the scent of promise in the step I take, one and then another. Surely there must a way be made, an amen to amend.
Hi everyone. The poem I chose is from this anthology called Good Poems for Hard Times, selected by Garrison Keillor. And I like this poem for many reasons. One of them is the way that it touches on the humanity that all people share. And the poet is Noel Coward, and the title is Nothing is lost. Deep in our subconscious, we are told, lie all our memories, lie all the notes of all the music we have ever heard, and all the phrases those we loved have spoken. Sorrows and losses time has since consoled, family jokes, outmoded anecdotes, each sentimental souvenir and token, everything seen, experienced, each word addressed to us in infancy, before we could even know or understand the implications of our wonderland. There they all are, the legendary lies, the birthday treats, the sights, the sounds, the tears, forgotten debris of forgotten years, waiting to be recalled, waiting to rise before our world dissolves before our eyes, waiting for some small intimate reminder, a word, a tune, a known familiar scent, an echo from the past when, innocent, we looked upon the present with delight and doubted not the future would be kinder and never knew the loneliness of night.
When we come back, we'll tell you how much people have donated thus far. We do have a really beautiful silent auction happening on the other side. Donations from this community also, things printed are paintings from Palestine, framed pieces from Pakistan. We even have ukulele songbooks. These it's $10 and you can walk away with them. Kate Power and Steve Einhorn donated CDs that way also. There are scarves that I'm hungry for over there, so please be generous over there, and we'll, Bearded Lady donated cupcakes, and the Olympia Food Co-op donated $500 for this event. So both Bearded Lady and Dick Meyer donated also.
can go on and on. I mean, we have all sorts of more, but thank you.
Hi. We did do a total, we're at $4,300 right now to send. So thank you.
This first one is Natural Disasters, a meditation. Tsunamis raise the sea levels, flood the coastal villages. Cyclones obliterate whole neighborhoods, the tallest trees. When out of nowhere hurricanes spin their wild trajectories, remember the calm eye at the center. When the earth opens and shakes, tosses buildings and bridges like toys, forget not that she can at any moment take you in, your body, each part of it, and all of this sickness, these ailments and aches that make you ready for transition, whatever comes next. Forget not that the earth is death dealer and life giver, sometimes one, sometimes the other. When grass fires blacken the land, heat cracks the cones of lodgepole pines. Tough and dormant seeds survive the coldest winter, surprise us in April. And this is toward a theology of angels. If angels exist, I don't know what's the matter with that, except that there aren't enough to go around, and some get lost on their way to special assignment. Certain people are missed and left without wings to lift them up, and they fall, leave their blood on the stones. I'm waiting for the wind to die down, for the waters to clear, and the cloud cover to lift, so I can look for the missing angels. Give directions to a man in the hospital, prisoners on death row, a bag lady freezing in the streets, children playing with guns and landmines. I want to tell unemployed angels about rivers in flood and families marooned on the roofs of houses, the bloated bodies of cattle, the debris of lives. This is how you begin to wonder about angels, what we came here to learn, who we came to love. Discomfort that moves from collarbone to scapulae, pin feathers pushing your own wings out. When you pray, the winds of God will rise to hold and send you. Thank you.
In summer, I go to bed by night and dress by yellow candlelight. In summer, quite the other way, I have to go to bed by day. I have to go to bed and see the birds still hopping on the tree, or hear the grown-up people's feet still going past me in the street. And does it not seem fair to you when all the sky is clear and blue, and I should like so much to play, to have to go to bed by day? Robert Louis Stevenson. Now I'm going to brave reading one of my own. 82. She builds fires all winter long. It keeps her warm. It keeps her busy. She chooses this, here on the plains, on her own, in the log house she built with her son, her father, her grandson, and a few others, mostly hippies her son hired. It is a funky little handmade homestead. She doesn't know how to feel lonely. She has her dogs and her horses. It is enough. She is content. But the wood runs low. She didn't get enough. The hay runs low. The horses are thin. Now all the details are slipping, and most days she can't remember what she forgets. She wants her independence, won't give it away. Her friends die one by one, leaving her with dust and a few feathers. She makes new ones, younger ones. In the spring, she sits on her porch swing with a cup of coffee and wonders where all the hummingbirds have gone. Soon her daughter and granddaughters will arrive. They will find things to fix that she didn't notice. Fill the bird feeders. Bring her chicks to raise. A new project to keep her busy. She is willing. She is gracious. She is relieved when they leave. And she is free to eat ice cream for dinner, watch TV, and get caught up on her soap. She can't remember ever being lonely. Thank you.
I brought a couple of pieces that I wrote. They were sort of spontaneous writings, but they were inspired by Casey Fuller over here. He's a fabulous workshop leader, and these I wrote during a recent workshop that he put on for us. This one is untitled. There is no time for her favorite things, no time to show off, retrieve, heal, stay. No time for T-bones, apricot pits, a morsel of the neighbor's backside. There is only this last ride, window rolled down, fur flying, tongue lolling from that good girl's happy face. And then this poem was inspired after I had just watched the documentary Grey Gardens about Edith Beale. Some of you may know her story. She was a recluse. It's called 39 Cats. How could she live like that? Couldn't she see the piles of garbage? Couldn't she hear the raccoons? Couldn't she smell what even the rats would not eat? I look around my room, see the stacks of paperwork waiting to be sorted, the pile of dirty dishes, mounds of laundry. I remember Grey Gardens, reach out to pet my cat. Grateful there was a time I had the presence of mind for neutering.
I want to thank you all for doing this and for coming up and reading and opening it up for poets. This is a poem for Sam and Michaela on their wedding day. Look, look, the long gooseneck loosestrife gives us full bloom in mid-July and second bloom in late August. Each stem will carry the swan's call, curved longing, at least 100 flowers. No scent, but the tongue-like shape is enough for anyone on a journey into marriage, erotic with whites and the lights of love. Early spring, it begins its journey. Small clusters of bright green leaves, red ring around serrated edge glow. In rich soil where it loves to grow, root of bright pink spreads throughout ground, reaching for space beyond itself, taking hold in places new and fertile. I let it all go wild, and why not? Living this one life meant for reaching out and touching all joinings which give us joy. Right now, I am thinking of you and you. As I water what I tend fast and true with heart beating in time, rings on fingers and church bells chime, just when the second blossom comes, then when the second blossom comes. And one more. This one I put together in a workshop up at Port Townsend at the Writers' Conference up there, and the instructor had us write tender buttons. And then she took all those tender buttons and she kind of underlined what she wanted us to use, and then we had to create another poem from that. But this one, she wanted me to leave it all by itself, so I did. It's called Workshop. You could, I would, Perhaps maybe if, try this, hand over heart, sleight of mind, tune in time, make a rhyme, spill the blood, let the flood, deep and wide, change the side, try again, make it new. How are you? Move it to the end, change the beginning, send me revisions.
I'd like to share with you words that Hakim Taekyon Wee, a doctor who's now working in Afghanistan, asked that we get as many people as possible to read in front of a camera so that he and the young Afghan youth peace volunteers that he works with can make a video that has this face and that face saying the words one after the other. Hakim got out of medical school about 12 years ago, and 10 years ago made the decision to go to Pakistan, to the Afghan refugee camps, where he worked for 2 years as a doctor before he went to the Bamiyan province, where he still is in Afghanistan. We, the people of United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, and to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women, and of nations large and small, and to establish conditions under which justice and respect for the obligations arising from treaties and from other sources of international law can be maintained, and to promote social programs, better standards of life in larger freedom. And for these ends, to practice tolerance and live together in peace with one another as good neighbors, and to unite our strength and to maintain international peace and serenity, and to ensure, by the acceptance of principles and the institution of methods, that armed force shall not be used save in the common interest, and to employ international machinery for the promotion of the economic and social advancement of all peoples, have resolved to combine our efforts to accomplish these aims. Accordingly, our representative governments, through representatives assembled who have exhibited their full powers found to be in good and due form, have agreed to the present charter of the United Nations, and they do thereby establish an international organization to be known as the United Nations. Signed 26th of June, 1945 in San Francisco, and came into force on the 24th of October that same year.
So Orion's up in the sky. I love Orion. It was one of the few constellations I allowed my father to show me. I regret those few. Not that he didn't try, but that I was already gone. We were in Mexico then, on a San Felipe beach. It was many years before I connected Fall and Orion above, on a bike in Napa, California, late at night, going home, and there was a woman. Forevermore, the end of summer, fall, horizon rising, and the admission that another year was gone, and there was a woman. Once I was right, many years ago. I've about forgotten being right. Now I'm doubtful about it all. I hesitate to speak, or worse yet, I speak and know I've blundered. It was good to be right. I'd love the thrill of knowing again. But now the landscape speaks more gently of what cannot be put back together.
I'm going to finish up with a poem It's not about Pakistan. My daughter lives in Africa and has lived in many countries, and but it's about disconnection when there's a crisis. And she was living in Uganda at the time. Elections in Uganda, earthquakes in Washington. My daughter tells us in a brief telephone call not to call her. The lines need to stay open for the embassy to evacuate her. How do you talk to someone across the world, letting them know you are okay, making sure they too are not held hostage to events beyond control? How tenuous are the threads to reach out? Let our daughter know the house still stands after an earthquake. I email knowing she may never get it. Each day I check the papers for violence, but only hear about the earthquake's aftermath. Uganda remains remote as all African news. When she finally does call, panicked, that Seattle is destroyed, Olympia the epicenter, she announces she's pregnant, then hangs up. Thank you for a lovely evening.